primal fear, as ancient as thought. In that infancy around the fire, seeking harbour from hunger and cold, distant flashing motes of red spectral eyes orbiting the hearth. Ice creeps up the spine as the pack encircles the camp. The black mantle of night then bares its teeth. My first memory, introduction to the werewolf, was a cartoon when I was around 8 or 9, Fangface, an ABC production. Then came the trading cards, action figures and so on. To my young mind, the werewolf was no more frightening than an episode of Scooby-Doo. By the time I reached 12 years old, this changed. I saw a film which haunted my dreams for months to come. The John Landis masterpiece, An American Werewolf in London.
I can assure you that this is not in the least bit amusing. Good Lord.
It left me terrified, but also fascinated, as I know many viewers are too. Maybe something in our DNA or a genetic memory. The fear of the werewolf is probably as old as the human species, and its origins can be traced back in the written records to the earliest form of writing. The first written evidence of this nightmare creature is contained in the Epic of Gilgamesh, produced about 4,000 years ago. This tale would obviously go back much further in time and was a verbal story long before it was written down. Gilgamesh spurned a potential suitor because she magically turned her previous lover into a wolf creature. This idea of a human-wolf hybrid most probably stems from our proximity to them in our ancient past. They hunt in packs, as do we, have hierarchical groups, intelligence, and they prey on and eat the very same animals. They are our clever rivals and have been for most of human existence. It's not difficult to imagine an admiration of their guile, determination, and ferocity developing in us. It's only in the last 300 to 400 years that this has changed drastically. These creatures would revel in combat and slaughter, which is something humans excel at, delighting in the post-battle feast of the dead and mortally wounded. Some Nordic tribes adopting them as totem animals in battle, just like the berserkers or bear shirts. The Ulfednar are described in legend as wearing wolf skins as mantles, channeling the ferocity of the wolf in combat, becoming wolf-like, tenacious, fearless, an act of transformative magic. Odin himself has 2 pet wolves, Jerry and Freki, as well as 2 ravens, obviously. Both of these creatures are to be found in the aftermath of battle, and even Odin could not defend himself against the ferocity of Fenrir the wolf that devours the sun in the time of Ragnarok. The wearing of wolf pelts, as either disguise or an attempt to become something other, also arises in other pagan cultures like ancient Greece and the Slavic provinces. In the Trojan War, Dolon wears a wolf skin, stalking into the Greek soldiers' camp, slaughtering them and King Rhesus of Thrace. The Greek historian Herodotus recounts tales of the Nurai tribes, now modern-day Belarus, the shamans of the tribe turning themselves into wolves for 3-day revels, and probably most famously in Ovid's Metamorphoses, the description of King Laocoon of Arcadia, which is most likely the seed of the modern werewolf as we know it, with cannibalism, violent murder, immorality, and, most importantly, physical transformation. He tried to speak, but his voice broke into an echoing howl. His ravening soul infected his jaws, his murderous longings were turned on the cattle. He still was possessed by bloodlust, his garments were changed into a shaggy coat, and his arms into legs. He was now transformed into a wolf. These tales spread across Europe, as did a religion from the deserts of the Middle East, which was now being enforced, usurping the old beliefs and ways. Christianity had arrived, and it had a habit. The habit of incorporating indigenous beliefs and stories, appropriating them to its own ends. The rise of this religion and the building of monasteries across Northern Europe also gave rise to one of the largest economies of the medieval period: wool. The monastic system was driven by the wool and the natural enemy of the livestock which produced it. The wolf became the enemy of the church, threatening its livelihood. The wolf now took on a new, terrifying persona, that of a demonic terror, a threat to the flock in every sense, morally and physically. Prejudice and fear was encouraged from the pulpits. Bounties were placed on them, and slowly but surely the wolves were incorporated into accounts of shape-shifting witches and murders. These tales and histories over the centuries, due to invasion and migration, cross-pollinate, get tacked on to other stories and beliefs, embellished, embroidered, and morph into modern and emerging mythologies. It's in the medieval period that the recognisable modern idea of the werewolf or wolfman takes root in the hearts and minds of the folk, and written accounts of transformations and werewolves wreaking havoc in towns and villages that we might be familiar with, particularly in Germany, where wolf enchanters or charmers were employed, extolling the ability to charm wolves away from livestock. When it didn't work, which was more often than not, the wolf enchanter would then be suspected of the slaughter of the animals and even the slaying and eating of children, and branded as werewolves. A werewolf craze erupted in Germany, and many werewolf trials, similar to witch trials, took place, most famously the case of the Bedburg werewolf, Peter Stub. There are various pronunciations of his name. Through the medieval and early modern period, virtually every region of Europe has accounts, tales, and folklore surrounding the werewolf, and shows no sign of abating, with many emerging stories and sightings circulating with great speed in the digital age, from the Michigan Dogman, Skinwalker, and Rougarou of North America, to Old Stinker and the Cannock Chase werewolf in the UK. The werewolf is still with us, and probably always will be.